Hello and welcome to another video of Web3 Do-It-Yourself tutorial. In this video, we are going to talk about how to create a transaction using Web3JS, Ethereum transaction. So in this video, what we are going to do is from one wallet where you have crypto coins, we are going to transfer these cryptos to other wallet, so wallet number 2. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to use this address. Please see the ending address 3816. We have been using 3816, ending in 3816. It has 0.8898 Goerli ETH, and we are going to transfer this to this account, which has 0.09 Goerli ETH 3073. Please note that these are the two account wallet addresses where we are going to make that transfer from into. This is from account, this is to account. What we also need is a private key, the private key for the first account, the from account. So these are the steps that we're going to follow. Step number 1, we are going to create the transaction object. Step number 2, we are going to sign the transaction object. And step number 3, we are going to send the transaction to the blockchain. And we are going to see that transaction on the Goerli blockchain. All right, so let's do this. Let's implement this. Create, sign, and send. So I'm going to go back to Ripple. Please note that the code that we used in the previous video, it might be there in your index.js. Index.js is the first file that will run. So what I did was copied all the code, created a new file from here, and pasted it so that you can see it in my GitHub. So I go back to index, which is blank. And now I'm going to clean this up and start writing the transaction. Now, first of all, what we are going to do is, as in the previous video, we created a private key. Sorry, the Goerli Infura URL. So in the secret, we created this Goerli Infura URL. What in this case you're going to do is you're going to create a key known as private key from account, and you're going to push the value. So I'm going to pause the video, push the value, and I'm going to click on this add new secret. So I added private key from account. Please note that while you add the keys, do not add in the value any single quotes or double quotes. Just enter the plain value, right? The raw value. Now here we are going to now start writing the code. So I'm going to say var tx, which is the transaction, require Ethereum JS. We are going to use the Ethereum JS transaction dot transaction. Please note that you have to write dot transaction. Next is we are going to write a constant. The constant would be the Web3 as we have been doing. And then I'm going to define the Goerli Infura URL. What you could do is go to the secrets, and from the drop down, you can pick up Goerli and click on insert here. And then I went and changed the my secret. So don't have to do that. And then I'm going to say constant chain name Goerli, and I'm going to say Web3, new Web3, and Goerli Infura URL. So I have created the Web3 handler for the Infura URL from Goerli. Please see the previous video. We have talked about in detail about Infura URLs. Next is I'm going to create from account. Remember, we had the account, the from account as ending in 3816. This is to account. So from account, I have created a constant variable, sorry, constant, and then again constant to account and 3073. Now, from the drop down, you can select private key from account and click on insert. So I did that, private key, and I have added buffer from. So when you add the private key, it will just have process.env, but because this is the key and we need that in the hex, I'm going to say, I'm going to just hide it. Yeah, I'm going to say buffer dot from the process comma hex. So this is the syntax wherein it's going to create a hex of the private key. This is important because when we pass the transaction, you need this in hex. Now, so I'm going to say web.eth get transaction count. I'm just going to start with understanding the transaction from the account, and then I'm going to say create a transaction object. How do you create a transaction object? The constant transaction object is the variable nonce. So nonce is for an account. So if I go to Goerli and transaction. If I go to goerli.etherscan.io, and when I do search on this account, you would see that there are these many transactions that have been run. And you would see that there is an option, there is a object known as nonce. Nonce means one up number. And I'm just going to look for it. You can see the nonce is 3 here. So under overview and state, you would see this nonce. So nonce is one up number associated for that account. So if I go in here and find the transaction, number of transactions, there are 12 transactions on this account here. So this will be the 13th. So I'm going to create nonce, and then to from which account? So from this account to this account, I'm going to create value. I'm passing 0.01 ether. So look at this. This account has 0.889. Let me pass 0.1 ether, and you would see it is going to be different. So I'm going to pass 0.1 ether from this account. So let's say 0.01 for now. Gas limit, I'm going to put 26,000. Anywhere more than 21, 22,000, gas limit would be fine. How do you find out gas limit? Look at the previous transaction and look at gas limit. It was used by transaction was 21,004. So put 25,000, 26,000 gas limit, whatever is not utilized, it's going to be returned back. Next is gas price. So I am going to give up to 10 GUI for transferring 0.01 ether, and then data is just a thing which is blank. Please note that I have converted each and everything into hex. It is important to create the transaction object which is in the hex. We create the transaction object. So a quick recap, we are creating an object of transaction Ethereum.js. We are going to use this later. We created Web3, Goerli URL, chain name is a variable, and I have connected to Web3. I defined two variables, constants, from and to, private key of the from. We don't need private key of the to because that is the receiving. Now I got the transaction count and I've defined from object, and this is a kind of a sub function which I'm going to put together. Right? I created a constant transaction object. So I created a transaction to pass on this value from this account to this account. Now I have to sign the transaction. So to sign the transaction, I've created a signed object, new tx, which is Ethereum.js tx transaction object, and you have to mention chain. If you are doing a mainnet, you have to mention mainnet. If you are doing it on the Goerli, you have to mention Goerli. You just have to put the name of the chain that you are transferring or signing this object or transaction object for. And then sign it using the private key account. So private key from account, you have to sign the transaction. So I have signed the transaction. Let's convert this transaction into a raw hex. Because this is like a JSON, I'm going to convert into a raw hex. So this is how you should do it. Serialized object. So signed transaction object dot serialize is the command. and whatever is serialized, you convert it into a hex. Add 0x, which shows the hex. It starts with 0x plus meaning concatenate the serialized object dot convert it to a hex. So signed object, serialize it, convert into a hex, and add 0x in front of it. You can print it and see how it is really working in the background. And then I am going to send the transaction. Very simple. Web3.eth.send signed transaction, raw transaction, this one, dot. On receipt. Once you have the receipt, once you have the confirmation, just put it on the console log and end it. This is how you create. One more time, get the transaction count and put this entire thing in the big bracket. So this bracket where it opened, it ended over here. Within that, you create the transaction object with nuns as transaction count, and then sign the transaction. Now think about that transaction count. Let's go back in here and look at the transaction count. These are 12, but the index of the transaction would have started from 0 to 11. So again, index count is 0 to 11, but total is 12. So what this is intelligently doing is, whatever is the max count, I put it as nonce, which is one up number, it will be 12. So the index of this transaction would be 12. I'm going to show you later. And then sign the transaction and send the transaction. Let's run this. Let's run and see how it works. So I click on this. It's installing Ethereum JS. We haven't had a chance to install this, and it is running now. I'm going to make it a little bigger. So this, because it wasn't installed, Ripple IT installs it by itself. If not, you have to use the npm node manager, package manager, to install the Ethereum JS. And here is the transaction. So let's look at it. You have block hash. This is your transaction block hash, and this is your transaction hash. Now let's go and copy this. This is the transaction hash, and go back in here. And if I click, you can see the status of the transaction success. Please see here, we transferred 0.01 Ether. This was my fee in Ether. And because we said 26,000, it used 21,004. And this is the transaction. If you go to the state, you would see that the state of the transaction has transferred. Now, please note that this is none 3 and 4. This is because the from account. So this is for the to account none. So I'm going to show you here. Go back in here. You see it was 0.889. Now it is 0.8739795. And in the second account, you would see that the Gorally, it was 0.09. Now it is 0.1. So this is how you transferred 0.01 Ether from an account to other account, and gives you all the information, and which is available on the Etherscan. Gorally Etherscan, not the main Ethernet scan, the testnet for the Etherscan. So I hope this was an interesting thing, very simple. In the next few videos, we are going to make some, we already have a smart contract. We're going to deploy it using Web3. Again, thank you for watching.